Welcome to our 5 on 5. I'm pleased to be joined today in studio by State Treasurer and Democratic candidate for governor, Tobias Read. Tobias, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Now, you've said the money to address homelessness is there for Oregon, but it's not paying off with results. How do we get results?
I think we need urgency. It's not enough to say that we have a 10-year plan. We need urgent action right now, and that involves much quicker action to stand up the temporary transitional and shelters to give people the wraparound services that they need, mental health, substance use disorder, and in the long run, we got to get a lot faster at constructing permanent housing. We're losing confidence of voters if we're not doing that, and the situation is only getting worse. We have to start by acknowledging that what we're doing right now isn't working, and then bringing the urgency and the execution that's needed.
You made some headlines last fall that you think Oregon children should be required to get a COVID vaccine alongside the other vaccines the state requires. A lot has changed with COVID in the past 6 months or so. Do you still feel this way?
I do. There are 8 other vaccines that are mandatory right now in schools, and I think when we have full approval of the COVID vaccine, it should be the 9th. We all have personal experiences at how the closure of schools has impacted the communities, and this is an easy step that we can take to make schools more resilient, to be on the path that is essential to our continued progress.
A lot of people in Southern Oregon and in the Rogue Valley feel underrepresented in Salem. They're tired of Portland area legislators dictating rural Oregon policy. Why should they feel any differently about you?
Because I've been elected statewide twice, because I've built coalitions of people around the state, people who don't always agree with me, and I'm in a position to listen, to try to bring together people around tough issues. Look no farther than the example we set with the Elliott State Forest, a problem that had been plaguing the state for decades, and we've now built a coalition that's putting together the largest research forest in North America that's supported by timber interests, conservation interests, tribal governments. This is the model for how we can bring people together to take on tough issues, and that's an approach I want to bring to the governor's office.
Now, who deserves the largest share of the blame for what's happening right now in Portland?
Boy, I think there is more than enough to go around. There's so many issues that people are struggling with, from homelessness to gun violence to the unpredictability of public education. And I think we all have a role to play in getting back to the things that really make a difference and bringing that urgency to what we're doing. We are long on good intentions in Oregon, and we're short, particularly lately, on the execution. It's not enough to pass bills or to appropriate money. What we need in our next governor is someone who's not only able to articulate a vision for the future, but has the executive experience to deliver on it, to deliver the results that Oregonians want and need.
We have a lot more to cover. We're going to take first a quick commercial break. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, I'm here with State Treasurer and Democratic candidate for governor Tobias Read. Oregon schools have a dismal record of late. You have 2 young children. What actions would you take to improve our school system?
I think we have to start by recognizing what the pandemic revealed, the shortcomings that became so much more clear through the pandemic. And we have to recognize that those shortcomings fell most heavily on students of color, on working families, and I think on rural communities as well. So I think it starts with really targeted investments at the earliest stages. We need pre-K for every student so they get a good start. We need to make sure that we're filling that summer gap with opportunities for students to get something they missed, to catch up on something they're struggling with, or even to just have an enrichment opportunity. There's one superintendent who talks about how we should think about the school year starting in November, not because that's a good thing, but because it takes that long for students to catch up on where they were at the end of the previous year. But we can fill that with important and creative solutions through the summer. We have to have a workforce that reflects the population they're serving. We need to do a better job of giving educators a pathway so they stay in the profession. But in the end, let's all recognize, I can say this as state treasurer, the chief investment officer for the state, there is no better investment than in Oregon kids.
How do you as governor, or how would you as governor, fix Oregon's wildfire problems?
Well, I had the chance to be a co-chair of the Wildfire Economic Recovery Council at Governor Brown's request, and we had a chance to spend time in a number of the communities that were affected by wildfires over the last couple of years. And I think there's a short-term and a long-term question. As we build back, we've got to not be content to do things the way they were. One really key example of that, I think, when we are burying utility lines, one of the best ways to avoid risks for wildfires, that's a perfect time to put broadband, fiber in the ground. So we can do things that not only reduce our vulnerability to wildfires, but put us in a more resilient position and a better position for economic development, communications, public safety, all of those things. So I think using a difficult time to do something better is key.
What letter grade would you give Governor Brown and why?
You know, our kids, we've talked about them already, don't get letter grades right now. They get these sort of more content-based ones. So there's a consistently and independently, there's an improving, there's a generally or something like that. So I think I would say kind of an inconsistent grade. Governor Brown deserves a lot of credit for making some tough decisions, particularly early in the pandemic, that put us in a stronger position than a lot of other states. But I think there was some inconsistency in the communication. I think Oregonians, Americans, humans have a capacity to deal with uncertainty and changing situations, but it's finite, and we can extend that when we're clear about our priorities and how things might change. You know, it's easier to say, here's the methodology I'm going to use. That might lead me to different decisions if the data changes, but I was never more frustrated, I have to say, than when bars and restaurants were open and schools were not. Being clear about our priorities, I think, makes Oregonians a lot more able to deal with challenging circumstances.
Roe v. Wade obviously making a lot of headlines in the last 36, 40 hours or so. Has anything changed from your perspective for how you would govern the state of Oregon?
It hasn't changed my approach, but I think it does definitely raise the urgency level. I mean, we are in a fortunate position in Oregon that the rights of women to make their own decisions are in statute, but it's worth remembering that we're only one election away from having those protections removed. So we need to be really clear about our intentions, and I have no problem saying that as governor, I would use every tool at my disposal to make sure that we continue to protect the right of women to make their own decisions.
Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.